talking with Henry Schiemann, who is an independent telecommunications consultant. And he's going to show us even more ways that there's incredible growth opportunities in today's industry. So, Henry, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, thanks, Meredith. So I would like to talk about the opportunities in the telecom industry. And most of the, let's say, areas that I will cover have been covered already before in the previous presentation, but I will just show it from another point of view. Telecommunications is really becoming another essential service like water and electricity. And we are now we're in a world where in a small all connected all world. Everything is smart cities, smart cars, smart devices. We heard it before, and everything is connected. And we are expecting to see billions and billions of interconnected devices. But what is causing all these? How do I visualize it as an ecosystem. And this ecosystem is pushed by the environment. We see that the Paris Agreement, the countries signed already, or signed in 2015. The goals are to reduce the carbon emissions. How can we reduce carbon emissions? We need smarter cities, smart, everything smart. So what we need is really our environment. Is the force that is pushing the everything. But what do we have there? We need a smart grid. The smart grid is the electricity, as we saw it last 2 weeks ago. Recently in Texas, what happened there when they called the whole grid collapsed. Why? Because they were not ready for it. So we need really a smart grid because everything depends on electricity. There is nothing else without electricity. Everything is gone. We don't even have water supply. We don't even have. We cannot turn anything on. So what do we have? Once we have a smart grid, a real reliable electricity or power or smart grid, we have two main components that's to support the whole ecosystem. The IT side and the telecommunication, where we have the fixed, mobile, and satellite. I consider all the three. Of course, the OSS/BSS that Jeffrey already talked more in detail, and some of the solutions that we hear from Aleppo and from NMS. We need this whole infrastructure has to be robust. There are strong requirements for this infrastructure. We have, for example, for the requirements that are being imposed, low latency was already mentioned, and so on. But we need really a reliable network, and we have to have it in place. That's one of the key components. So around it, once we have this whole basics covered, we have technologies around it that are supported by it. Security was already mentioned; is a key component in all across from the bottom to the top. Artificial intelligence is being used more and more everywhere in the services, in the network. Just name it. Blockchain is becoming also very popular, and blockchain, for example, consumes a lot of IT resources, of course, and telecommunication resources. IoT was mentioned before. IoT will explode with billions. I don't know how many billions we will see in the next 10 years, but it's growing and growing. The cloud is also very, very important. When I talk about the cloud, I'm talking about the cloud in the telecom sense and also the cloud computing. Everything is moving to the cloud. And even more, what is the latest trends, and we will see it more, is edge cloud computing. Everything is moving to the edge because we need we have to connect faster to all these devices and services. So it means we have to be at the edge. Robotics is also a very important service. And augmented reality, virtual reality, that's also gaining a lot of, one of the key technologies in this ecosystem that we see. And what's around it? All the services is what we have around it. So that's what where will be the opportunities for the telecommunications and industry. When I see all these services in this landscape, what we perceive is that in order for it to work, we need perfect orchestration. That means that we need lots of automation. It was mentioned for Aleppo, for example, in the PSS area, in order for the services to be able to communicate, to exist. We will also see a lot of virtualization and softwareization. Now it's a new word that I heard recently, and I like that word. So where do we see the services? A smart home was already mentioned by Jennifer in the previous presentation. The smart cities, for example, I envision it in a smart city. For example, smart traffic lights. It's nothing no more annoying than to see than to wait at the traffic light and no cars are coming from the other side. You see what's going on. Why can't I go further? Another point that I see for smart cities is smoking sidewalks. For example, people are already so distracted walking around, looking at their mobile phone, and suddenly they don't foresee that there is a pole, that there is a car maybe coming, and they can be, let's say, alerted. Also, if we have smart sidewalks, for example, I hear, for example, for blind people, they could get some signal, some voice, and say, yeah, you are close to watch it, there is a can, there is whatever on the sidewalk. So I see a lot of opportunities in smart cities. Another point that I probably we don't hear much, and I have the impression, but it's very important, is that smart agriculture. For example, irrigation system. When the farmers have their crops, how much water do they need? About the soil, they probably will have some sensors that detect, the soil is not good enough, you have to do this and that. So you can do lots of things also in agriculture. The forest, we can see, I mean, every year there are always fires, the forests are dying. For example, in Germany, they are very afraid of the health of the forest. With some smart technologies, we should be able to address these issues, to monitor it, to establish, to take proactive action. The telehealth and health was already mentioned. What I wanted to add to this topic about the telehealth and health is not just the reason that people that cannot go to the doctor because of the pandemic. Now it was pushed, but also I see it in countries, even in Germany or in some developing countries, where there is no doctor in town. How can you cannot travel 100 kilometers or whatever just to see a doctor? So this is an option by using telehealth. And another aspect, another service that I will see in health, in telehealth, are operation. I foresee that in the future, a doctor sitting maybe in Australia will be operating someone sitting in California or whatever, or in Germany. So we will see those kinds of, let's say, of scenarios. Of course, that initially they probably don't do it standalone. There will be someone on site assisting the remote doctor. Another point where I foresee that we have to that there will be an opportunity is an e-government. Nowadays, everything is really a silo. If you want to get a birth certificate, you go to one entity. You have to go. Of course, most of the services go online. If you have to want your passport, if you want to get your driver's license, and so on, the ideal situation will be where everything will be interrelated, correlated, communicate itself. That means, for example, when a child is born, a baby, the hospital will issue automatically the birth certificate. With the birth certificate, automatically this baby would already be registered for a kindergarten and so on. So we need this intercommunication. The payment methods were already mentioned. Shopping gained a lot of popularity now with the pandemic, but I see the problem that I see with online shopping, and what people miss is this feeling. I see it online, the way it is now, I see it as a two-dimensional. People want a three-dimensional experience. So I foresee, based on augmented reality or virtual reality, that you can go into the store and you can just grab whatever. Let's say you want to look at a shirt, you want to look whatever a device, you just be able to grab it and move it around, take a look at it, and have that feeling. And that's what's missing. And I foresee that this will happen. Another opportunity that we see is in the industrial production and manufacturing. Nowadays, for example, it is already being done where in the car industry, and also in, for example, warehouses, where they have robots where they pick out the merchandise and move it around. Another area, another service is the self-driving vehicles. Okay, we're talking, there is a lot of talk about this, the self-driving car, self-driving whatever. There's still a long way to go because there are too many variables. In a city, I think it will take longer because there are too many, the sensors are not ready yet to evaluate and to process that information. I foresee it more in a more controlled environment, for example, in a highway or in rural areas. For example, I know from trials here in Germany, they are testing some buses in some rural area. And I think it will work because in that type of environment, let's say in rural areas, when you get there by train, there is no bus there, or the bus only runs twice a day. But if you have self-driving buses, then when there is a need, you can do it upon request. Drones is a service. I mean, there are a lot of applications, for example, for surveillance, also for monitoring, for defense, and so on. So we will see more opportunities there in the entertainment industry. We already mentioned, of course, video was one of the services that was mentioned already, but we also see it in gaming. I mean, it's a huge industry, the gaming industry, and they need always more and more power. And if we see all the games now they look so realistic that you think it's not a game, it's something real. Another service where I see a lot of potential is in sports. For example, I know that the Vodafone in Germany is testing a technology when you can take your mobile phone to the stadium, and when you position your camera, you can see the players that the camera is showing. They show the names, they show how fast they are moving, how many kicks they have. They process a whole of statistics. But when we see all these services, the most important thing, or what we see, is this is an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem. We have different players. We have the customers that want to consume these services. We have the suppliers that want to provide the services, and we have this platform and service providers. So we have this whole ecosystem, and it can only work if there is a lot of automation and integration. If I want to offer a service, for example, let's go back to our health. If you want to consult a doctor, you need telecommunication because you need a connection. I foresee, for example, a lot of opportunities in the tactile internet. And going back to the telehealth, where is a good example. Of course, this is not, you cannot replace the experience of talking directly person to a doctor, but I foresee there will be devices that you will put, I don't know where, on your body, maybe on your head, and the doctor will be able to check you if you were really in front of him or her. So there are a lot of possibilities here, but of course the demands are high, especially on the telecom industry. 5G, the advent of 5G is being deployed already, and 5G will be a huge asset in this whole ecosystem. Of course, that I foresee, unfortunately, that the availability of 5G will be in more in metropolitan areas. Rural areas won't have that access, and it will take much longer for them to benefit from 5G. By 5G as a technology, it's not only for service network providers, it's also in Germany, for example, companies can have their own 5G network. So there are seamless opportunities for the telecom industry to progress. And I see that's what we need: perfect orchestration. Unless everybody plays, let's say, like in orchestra, then we won't get any noise. And that's what we need. We need this perfect orchestration between the different components. And as had been mentioned before throughout the presentation, this integration is only possible, or this ecosystem will be only possible to a perfect orchestration of the different players. So I hope you got an overview of the whole of how I see the opportunities that are coming to us. I prepare a document that I asked Preeti to distribute to the participants, and I put more details and some references for you that would like to take a closer look.